that sell to all the retail markets in the city. But you don't have to. It's more about learning a bit, I think. So
Yeah.
you learn when you buy a dozen cucumbers, you check the ends of all 12 of them to make sure none of them are rotten, rather than come home and find out you've got a rotten one. You can't just grab. You have to actually look, and you make friends with your suppliers, just like anybody else would if they had a regular supplier of any product.
Yeah.
Know who your sources are, and then you get them. They start looking out for you, and you're looking out for them. And at Christmas, you
Builds
exchange.
community. I love
Yeah.
it.
So
Yeah.
it's not that hard to do. I run retreats in Cedar Woolley, Washington every September, and we met some farmers, and eventually we found a
Mm.
farmer that we really, really like, and he lives 300 miles to the east of where we run it, pretty close, once a week to. And so we put in our order in the spring of what we want from him in September, and he plants it and grows it and delivers it to us.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, but you just make those connections. And
Hey,
it
Doug,
just,
1 second. My phone's ringing. 1 second. I'm sorry.
like that.
My apologies. So we
If
make
it's for me,
connections.
just tell him I'm busy, would you?
I know, right?
Yeah.
They found you here. You're so popular. So we build community. And then how, can you give me like a day's meal plan?
Well, I can, but
You're right.
my meal plans create, I don't need, my meal
What
plan's
do you have for
crazy
breakfast?
simple. My meal plan's really crazy simple because
I love it.
I have found from experience that I would rather feel good, because nothing tastes better than feeling good feels,
Yeah.
right? So I would rather feel good than tantalize my taste buds with outrageous concoctions. I'm not looking for outrage, I'm not just looking for that. I'm looking for food that tastes good, I feel good, it sits well, it eliminates effortlessly. It's, all is good. I don't know I have a digestive system, and it doesn't know about me, and I don't know about it. It all just works perfectly, and I'm happy and it's happy. So I tend to eat insanely simply, but I'm happy with simply. So
Cool.
I mean, for me, I'll sit down for my first meal of the day and just eat a dozen bananas, and I'm happy. And that'll hold me for 4, 5, 6 hours before I'm even thinking about food again. And ladies watching, you have to cut everything basically in half, because ladies don't eat as much as guys and as much as guy
True
athletes.
story.
So you hear 12 bananas and you freak out. And I go, no, 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 yeah, but for ladies, that might only be 5 or 6 or 7, depending on how athletic you are or something. So,
And that's not, okay.
yeah.
Let's talk about, because that's a good segue into from your daughter. Let's talk about your daughter
Mm,
who,
love to.
um, yeah, yeah. So you were actually became a father later in life.
51.
That amazing, incredible. So your wife and yourself, both raw fooders, joined together, had your daughter, and then let's talk about the experience that happened after mother's milk, right?
She was she was 9 months old, and obviously bright. I think all the kids are bright, but she was obviously bright, and she hadn't had anything but mother's milk. And when she was 9 months old, she really expressed some interest in a banana that my wife was eating. So my wife gave it to her, and she took it and looked at it and held it and handed it back. She just wanted to know what my wife was hanging on to. And when she was a year, um, she once again expressed an interest in what I was eating, which was bananas, and told my wife about it, and we talked about it, and she was happy breastfeeding. She was really happy breastfeeding, and I was I was of the opinion that we don't need to entertain our daughter with food. Like, we don't have to titillate her taste buds as a 1 year old. Like, let's not create problems that don't exist. So we both were happy to let her keep breastfeeding as long as she wanted. And but she expressed that interest in the banana, and she tried it. She took a bite out of it. She liked it. She ate maybe half a banana,
Hmm.
and started doing that almost every day, eating a half a banana. And um, over the course of that whole year, she tried a bunch of different fruits and eventually tried, I think, lettuce and celery. And, by the time she started getting a few teeth in her mouth and chewing became a normal thing. And she just ate fruits and vegetables. And we included avocados eventually. And, mother's milk's like 50% fat. And I'm talking about a diet that's somewhere around 10 or 15% fat, and or even 5.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a gradual weaning process of for my daughter. I mean, she didn't stop breastfeeding until she was 8. The weaning process took a long time before she was 100% of her calories came from food and no more came from mom.
Mm-hmm.
So over that period of time, there were times where she didn't really want to eat salad, but we kept on offering it. At least once a day, we would offer a lettuce leaf or 2, and eventually she started gardening with me when she was 3 and saw how the lettuce grows and saw how different things grow and how much fun it was to eat right out of the garden. And really, she's just never questioned it. At this point, she's about to turn 14.
Mm-hmm.
She's not questioning raw vegan.
Right.
Will she ever? Maybe she will.
Well,
If she does, she will. But at least she's got a good foundation.
Yeah.
And so far, I mean, the nice thing is, she needed about 3/4 of the amount of sleep that most kids need.
That's powerful.
She was ahead of the other kids who were basically sleeping their whole childhood away. She was awake a lot more. She had a lot more life experience. And I mean, the things that were important to me, she's intelligent, she's athletic, she's had a few times where she's had a runny nose or a cough, but she had no childhood illnesses. None. No vaccination, no childhood illness.
Excuse me. Do you think that, like, as she's going into her teenage years, is she experimenting with cheese or beef?
No, she's pretty staunch vegan.
Cool.
If she tries anything, it's going to be like a steamed cauliflower or something.
Okay.
She's got that vegan ethic for so many reasons. She understands the environmental impact. She's studied environmental sciences. She has compassion for animals like nobody has compassion. Her compassion for animals. She's always had animals her whole life. I can't imagine in a million years. But, stuff you can't imagine still happens. I'm not saying it'll never happen, but I would bet money it would never happen.
Yeah. All right.
Whether she'll try cooked food or do stuff in the future, I mean, she's got to find out for herself. To some degree, we all have to find out for ourselves. We can only learn so much from the experience of others. How many people hit guardrails, even though there's already a guardrail there, and people still have to see how fast they can go around that turn?
Yep. It's true. Yeah. And I'd like you, I know we only have a couple more minutes, but I'd like you to touch on the environmental impact of being a vegan vegetarian, because I'm aware of the impact of it, but I'd like you to speak to it a little bit, because I'm going to just assume that not everyone is aware.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, it's an interesting world. I mean, the climate's always changed. That's what the climate has always done. So I don't really jump on the climate change bandwagon very much. I would number 2 cause of greenhouse gas production is cooking our food.
Mm-hmm.
Animal industry is the number 1. Cooking is number 2. Driving our cars is number 3. But if you look at the lists of the greenhouse gas production, cooking is not on any list. I had to pay a scientist to do that research and spend a couple weeks crunching numbers in order for me to come up with that and be able to tell you that in honesty.
Wow.
But in terms of environmental devastation and environmental impact, the animal industry is still number 1 in terms of the devastation it does to our resources. I mean, most of the water that's used in the entire United States goes to the animal industry. It's just crazy. And we industry, whether we eat the animal, because when you take a bunch of grains or corn or whatever and squeeze the oil out of it, you're left with a product that's basically unsellable except for the oil.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything goes to feed animals. And when you raise grains for food, like bread, rice, pasta, corn, potato, that makes up 10% of the grains we grow is grown for people. When you drive through Iowa and all you see is corn for the entire state,
Yeah.
That's all for livestock. That's not for people.
Right.
90% of the grain grown in America is growing. The land use is there to feed animals. But the farmers and the cows, they don't pay much for their corn.
Mm-hmm.
So we pay, say, $4 for a loaf of bread, for a pound of bread. But the farmer pays $1 for 100 pounds of wheat. So even when you buy bread, you're still subsidizing the animal industry. Even when you buy olive oil, you're still subsidizing, or corn oil, you're subsidizing the animal industry. And to me, I just don't have, when I know what it's doing, have you ever seen, if you drive on Highway 5 in California, you drive past some feedlots on the way up between...
Cowschewitz, I think. It's the unsavory turn of it.
I was driving up there one time, and not only does it not smell good, but there's some what are called slurry ponds.
Mm-hmm.
Slurry ponds, is where all the poo goes. And they produce toxic waste. So I saw a guy working near one of the slurry ponds, and he was wearing a hazmat suit because the gases are so volatile and deadly, so caustic, that if you start breathing them, basically before you know what happens, you fall down from the impact of the gas and then you die. And this happens to people every year. So they now know to wear hazmat suits, and still people die it's a hard reality. I would not want to be married to the person who slits cows' throats all day. What do you do? I grab the innards out of a cow and just, the cow's still alive and I just pull its guts out. I wouldn't want to be married to the person who did that 60 times a minute all day long. And we know it's not a good industry. It's got the highest turnover rate for people just can't keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And we know it's dirty because now they're passing laws to make it illegal to say anything bad against them. That tells you something.
So with all that bad, let's counter it with always positive, right? So the beautiful nature's candy, the fruit and the vegetables, right? Make friends with our produce people.
Well, the thing I saw, I wondered, and I've wondered many times, am I doing my daughter some harm? And the thing is, I want to nurture my daughter. I want to provide what's best for my daughter from the time, before she was born until forever. I want to do what's best for her. And am I doing her some harm by not giving her various confections or various fast foods, or introducing her to traditional candy or whatever? And every time I go through it in my head and I weigh it out, no, in no way at all. She's got plenty of sweets to choose from. We know how to make date bars. We know how to make candy for her. We know how to, there's all kinds of raw vegan ice creams that we make for her every summer. And she has not missed out at all by not being sick, by not throwing up, by not, having a tummy ache, by not being constipated, by not having pimples, by not having, all the stuff that kids have. And she managed to have like this idyllic childhood where she could just always play and always do what she wanted to do. I don't think she missed out one bit. There are raw versions of practically any food you could ever want to make. You just have to look, be a little creative in the kitchen. And so
I love it. And I love that there's candy.
It's just not been a hardship. Her friends look up to her because she takes really good care of herself, and they know she will, and every mom is accommodating to that. And if she's going somewhere, we make sure she brings some food with her, but just like any other child.
Right. Yeah. My mom did a great service.
it's only important to the people who aren't living it. Like they make a big deal about it, but for her, it's just food. It's normal food.
Yep. 100%. My mom did a great service to me, and she had kind of funny rules of like, I couldn't have toy guns and I couldn't chew bubble gum. I couldn't chew gum at all. And because of that, you know, I've grown into a woman who is very carefully thoughtful about both of those things and
You
many
probably
other.
still don't have any toy guns.
Nope. No, I think I
Yeah.
owned one like squirt gun in my life, and like that's it. And it was like this big, and it was orange. You know,
No, yeah, and my daughter, there's a lot of stuff she doesn't watch. We're very particular about what she reads and what she watches. But at this point, she's very particular about what she reads and watches. And if the music comes on to something that starts going dun 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 dun, you know, or those sounds, and she goes, "I don't want to watch this," and just walks away. And she just doesn't watch the violence. It's not going in her head. She's not, you know, she's not thinking in those lines at all. I'm loving that she's just being a little girl still, and she's smart as a whip, and she's very capable, and she's very responsible, and she takes care of her own horses, and she's, you know, she's nothing bad to say, but it's a treat that she's not trying to act all grown up. For me, it's a treat that she realizes like she still has growing up to do, and she can still have her most fun with a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old, and play with them and accept them. But also at the same time, she's now like teaching them how to ride horseback.
That's
so
awesome.
She's becoming very responsible. And I don't know how much of that is her diet and how much of that is homeschool and how much of that is
the parents. Because I always like to remind the parent that you guys are rock stars and you don't always give yourselves enough credit.
This is the thing. I mean, when kids come out well, I always blame the parents. And when kids come out badly, you still have to blame the parents. And, parenting definitely is a big job. It's bigger than most people realize until they've done it.
Right.
But we're loving being parents, and I'm thrilled that my diet supports me to have the energy to still. I mean, because I'll tell you what, 14 years old has some serious energy.
Totally.
Yeah, and
and good on you for being brave and leveling up at 51. Being like, do this. New game.
It wasn't something we planned. It just happened that way. But it's fine. I'm thrilled. I mean, it was the best thing ever, and still is the best thing ever. But you know, I'm tickled that I still have the health and the energy to be able to go out and play with my daughter. So
yeah, that's awesome.
That's good. I just know too many people who they just can't, you know, and for me, taking good care of myself is really, really important.
Yeah.
I don't see who's going to take care of me if I don't take care of me. So I want to take the best care of myself I can. That becomes, it's not like I'm anal about it, you know. It's I don't even think about it. I just do it automatically.
Well, that's a theme that you know, in my work, this is my theme that keeps recurring, is that liberty is within. And you know, we get to, as individuals, love ourselves and then expand that love. So taking care of ourselves, having confidence within ourselves, all of that stuff is all part of it. So you're a beautiful example, Doctor. Thank you. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Well, you know, leaders are readers, and I keep on reading every day and learning all the time. I think there's plenty of room for learning. I encourage people to go to health, because I think that's like the best option, and remind them that as much as we listen around to what people are doing and say, oh, my doctor said this, and oh, you should see my doctor, and here's my scars, and I went to this the most beautiful thing is always health. Health is the most gorgeous of all. I mean, if it gets to be, you know, holiday time and you look at the perfume commercials and the clothing commercials and shoe commercials and whatever else, I mean, they're using beautiful people to sell those products. Because health is beautiful. And so if you want to retain the health that you had when you were a child and when you were youthful, take care of yourself like you really, really matter.
Yeah.
Eat a lot of fruits and vegetables.
I love it. Yes, I'm right on board with you. I love it. All right, doctor, thank you so much for your time today. We'll be in touch soon.
Thank
And
you for the platform.
of course, my sincere pleasure. Talk soon.